Today's subject a little bit ambiguous, and there you have to bear with me a little bit because the subject of tonight's share is where are you supposed to light? But before I answer that question, I'd like to share with you a halachic dilemma which I am in the middle of facing today, and I have until Hanukkah to answer, so that's pretty good. I was asked by a principal of a school, a girls' school, that has a campus, and the buildings of the campus. You could hear me, by the way, people?
Yes.
Okay. The building of the campus is recessed from the street and covered with trees and like shrubbery. You know, you can't see the buildings well. So if the girls would light by a window, nobody would be able to see at all. What? Can hear you. Yeah, probably a little quieter. And if they light, there's a gate that goes into the campus. If they would light over there, so it would be seen from Hilchos Chanukah. So the question was, where should they light? What's the question? I just put myself out of business. Why? Because if you have a choice to light by a Pesach HaChotzir to Hilchos Chanukah, there's no place better than that. So why am I even entertaining a question? And the answer to that question is what? No, the people in the school could see it. When they're in the chutzner, they could see it. And the answer to that question is because the minhag is that women don't light outside.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if you light inside, I would say the accepted opinion in Klal Yisrael, let's use that as a nice broad term. The accepted opinion in Klal Yisrael is that if you light outside, inside your yotze, even if you could light outside. I'm not going to say that everybody says like that, but many places can do. So that was an issue that I had, and now I'm going to discuss where to light from a practical perspective. I'm going to start off with a question that I don't know the answer to, but I believe that the question is extremely important in a Lamdish venue. Anybody out there learning Daf Yomi? Okay, so I guess none of you people are part of Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael is learning Daf Yomi. But I'm on your side because I'm also not doing Daf Yomi. But anyways, if you're doing Daf Yomi, okay, I'm sorry. So nothing personal. Okay, so you must be an Eruvin expert. That's what I would imagine. So if you're learning Daf Yomi, so everybody knows there's a bias, then there's a chutzner, and what comes after the chutzner? Mavoi, and then comes the Shazarabim. We all know on Hanukkah. Oh, are you alive? Okay, super. Have a seat. We all know that the Gemara says that you're supposed to light your Hanukkah candle, your Hanukkah menorah, a Pesach, a Chotzer, a Pasuach, Hilchos Chanukah. Where is that? Where's the Hilchos Chanukah? Again, what did we say? There's no mavui. So we have special Hanukkah houses with no mavuis. Speaking about a lack of frontage, right? What is that? Where'd the mavui go? Okay. Now I'm going to ask you another question. All of the people that I'm speaking to here have been on Rehov Lachish. So if you would be across from the shul in 40 Lachish, so there's a parking lot, and that parking lot is shared between 40 Lachish and 38 Lachish. If I'm not mistaken, 36 is already shared with 34. Is that correct? What? No, and then there's another one that has.
Yes, it's correct.
Okay. So now, may I suggest that parking lot if I'll say that the Cheder Madrigot is a Pesach HaChotzer, so then the parking lot is a Mavui, because it's a public domain in regard to the individual building, because they have to share it with the other building. So it incorporates a greater amount of people than the smaller domain of the Cheder Madrigot. You people with me? So possibly, if when we say Rosh Hashanah, it means the Mavui, because there is no Mavui in Hanukkah for some reason, it got lost. So maybe the place to light is in front of the Cheder Madrigot and not in front of the parking lot. That's a possible thought. What? What is Rosh Hashanah? Maybe. Now it's hard to say. I would like to say it's hard to say that a parking lot is a mavli, and I'm going to explain to you why I feel that you can't say that parking lot is a mavli. I see somebody in the Cheder Madrigot of my building. I have a right to say, what are you doing here? Yes. And if the guy doesn't have a good reason, I can kick him out. All right? I'm not right now discussing what one should do. That's not the subject right now. I'm discussing what rights a person has. A Cheder Madrigot is private property. Those people who have ever been in places which are excruciating. I come from Detroit, Michigan, which is a flat place. I don't come from a place with like these hills. You go to a place like Har Nof, so there are many buildings that people enter one side on Street 1, and they exit on another side on Street 2, and they have to unplug their ears because of the drop in air pressure or the extended air pressure, because you're going down 5 flights to go onto some other street and they just go right through a building. Right? So is that a Rosh Hashanah? How do I know that it's not a Rosh Hashanah? Because in most of those buildings there's a big sign, do not go in here. If you go in here, you over bezel cover. And what? I'm not gonna do it, I'm doing the light in the daytime, and I'm not gonna turn on any lights. Why are you so taking liberties on my expense? Yeah, right. I'm not going to use the lift. I'm going to use the stairs. It's going to save me 20 minutes. Okay? So I will say that there are actually places in Kiryat Sefer that it's actually like zoned like that people are allowed to go through. It's like a Metzger Shachziku Barabim, and it's done. And it's done. We're done with the consent of the population of the building. But in that situation, in my opinion, then a person could light their candles in the Cheder Madrigot, because it's Pesach Habayis HaPesuch L'Shusarabim, because that Cheder Madrigot is different than the Cheder Madrigot in my apartment, because in my apartment it's not open to the passage of Rabbim. Now, it doesn't make a difference who owns it. It makes a difference whether it's private or not private. Semi-private is also private. Rabbi Yashiv has in a tshuva a fascinating chidush that is printed in Moria, which I think needs a lot of iyun on. It's a fascinating thing. There's a Gemara that many people know. For some reason, Chanukah is Torah Shabbat Peh. That's not some reason Chanukah is Torah Shabbat Peh, but for every yontif there's some masechta that deals with it, and Chanukah just missed out on the whole deal. Right? It's only mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, twice in Shas, and not really. It doesn't really hold much. And when speaking about Hilchos Chanukah Shabbos candles, it talks about a little bit, and then there's a Gemara about this Gummel and the store and the fire and Smokey the Bear, and that's the extent of it. In that Gemara Balakama, the Gemara speaks about the store owner lighting his menorah in the Havamid of the Gemara inside the store. Was he in Amoritz? Why is he lighting inside the store?
And he doesn't want camel girls to get caught.
I don't understand something. What? It's
He lives in the store. He lives in the back of the store. Otherwise, his wife would like him at home.
You know what? I like that answer, but it doesn't answer my question exactly. I said that he lit inside the store.
It was B'shas HaSakana. He had to light it inside Al Shulchano.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay. It doesn't seem to say that way in the Gemara because it says, see, they wrote it, the Gemara says right afterwards, they lit it on the outside of the store. That was only the Havamid of the Gemara that was inside the store. And Rabbi Yashiv is bothered by this question, what are you doing lighting in a store? And at some point in the Tshuva, he makes the following statement. I have a store. My store is open to the public. So it has a status of Rosh Hashanah in its own right. This is a kind of a little bit of an interesting subject, which has to be delved into, and that's not for the scope of the shir, but it's a fascinating ha'ara on the Gemara.
So then, this idea of Chabad lighting in stores might almost have a merit.
No. We didn't yet discuss, and I do believe the Gemara in Sukkah speaks about the guy that Sheffer was speaking about, that he lived in the back of the store, and he had in front of his house, he had a shop. It could well be that he lived, that was the way into his house. I'm not arguing that point. In other words, Sheffer was answering the question, why is the guy lighting there at all if it's not his residence? I didn't discuss why he's lighting there at all. I'm discussing if he's lighting, why is he lighting inside a store? Right? But that's a question. That's a question of why is he lighting. So that is discussed by some of the Achronim. What's he doing lighting over there? And if I'm not mistaken, some of them will give this answer that I just gave. At any rate, why does one light by the Pesach HaChotzer? So that he could do pursue Menisa. What? The person who likes the Pesach HaChotzer should do pursue Menisa. I have, this is not true, I'm making this up, but I have a wrought iron gate that goes into my chotzer, and it has spaces in between, every 6 inches is a pole, and do I have to stick my menorah outside the wrought iron gate, or can I keep it inside the wrought iron gate?
People see it inside.
The wrought iron gate, Rosh Hashanah, and there's Lamar Nafkamina. There's a very big Nafkamina. I have a friend of mine here in Beit Shemesh that his father-in-law, unfortunately not alive anymore, works in silver. And when he was a chassan, he gave him a beautiful, elaborate silver menorah. And he says to me, what am I going to do with it? I'm not going to light. I can only light with it once. It's chad pamim. Right? You light with it once. It's not going to be there the next day. So I said this is a very simple thing. You should be kind when it says in the Chavis Yoer. You should sit by your neighbor for half an hour. So, and I will just say to the credit of people in Klal Yisrael, there's somebody near in the old city near the diaspora yeshiva that has a huge silver menorah, and it's lit on a box, and it's lit outside, and it's been there for years. It's an amazing thing. Every night at Hanukkah, I see it. I'm always in from the next Hanukkah that I know of. At any rate, so that's the over here, the halacha, about where you're supposed to light. The reason you're supposed to light,
all travelers, if any unknown person attempts to
in my opinion,
item, including luggage,
the reason why,
do not accept it and notify airline personnel immediately. Do not leave luggage unattended.
okay.
All carry-on and checked luggage is subject to
All right.
search.
Whoever is
A todos los
Brother
Can I do
Israel,
that?
Halpern,
desconocido
Yeah.
intenta darles cualquier
mute your mic.
incluyendo equipaje para transportar.
What is it?
No lo
Mute
hace.
your mic.
Okay. That was good. All right. Look at that. All I did was try and they took care of it. Okay, anyways, the bottom line is that it seems to me that in Machlokes Rashi and Taisus, and you have a choice to light on the Pesach HaBayis or the Pesach HaChotzer, where you're supposed to light, it's just a question of where you get more exposure from. That's a lot from the Pesach HaChotzer, but where is it more clear who's lighting it? That's either Pesach HaBayis. But even according to Taisus, who says light Pesach HaChotzer, one lights the Pesach HaBayis, you're also Yotze. It's an important concept because we'll see certain situations where that'll make a difference. At any rate, the question of, I just want to get to the kud over here, which is very relevant. I would imagine that most of you know where I live here in the Beit Shemesh. Okay, so when you walk into my building, so there's two chatzerot on the side, and then there's a walkway in the middle. Where am I supposed to light? In the beginning of the walkway, or by the glass door that you walk into the apartment?
Well,
For Chazish, you'll light any of them.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I didn't ask you that question. I asked. I didn't. That wasn't a question. I said if I'm lighting with Pesach HaChotzer,
but
where do I light it? So you said
the stairway is not a
don't light
Pesach.
I just accept that. I accept the piece of advice, but those are my questions.
The
Yeah.
stairs leading up aren't the Pesach, are they?
Are the stairs?
In other words, going into the area in front of the doors. That's not a Pesach, is it?
What does a Pesach have to consist of?
Does it need like a mezuzah or something?
The Pash, I have a raya from a Gemara that it doesn't need a mezuzah, and you're going to feel very bad when I tell you the raya, because you know the raya. What is the halacha? If there's a mezuzah, you put the menorah on which side?
On the opposite side.
And if there's no mezuzah, right? Everybody knows that, right? So does a Pesach for lighting menorah need a mezuzah? Pretty good raya. Pretty good raya. There's some that have a way to answer that raya, but that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's the raya sheyef shel hashem olav. Even though there are those who are meishav olav, as far as I'm concerned, it's a raya sheyef shel hashem. At any rate, so where is the place? And this is the place where I could show this even more outspoken. Is if any of you people have ever been in places like Unsdorf, where you have a gesher to walk into a building, you have like a real, it could be 6 meters of a bridge to get into a house. Where are you supposed to light? No, there's each building has one bridge to it. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so the question is, yes, Sheffer.
The Pesach doesn't mean the Pesach to your apartment?
No, it's Pesach HaChotzer, not Pesach HaBayis.
And how are we ever going to know that this belongs to you?
The tour is bothered by your question, and he brings the Shita of the Sar HaSholom, who says something fascinating. Now, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm just going to tell you how good a question it is. The Sar HaSholom says that if you have many people that live in one building, so then they have one collective mitzvah of Adlokas Neres Chanukah. They all have to chip in together and put one menorah on the Pesach HaChotzer. Okay? I did not answer your question. I just avoided it like a good Jew.
No, you did answer it, actually.
Well, I didn't because we don't hold like that. And we still hold to light Pesach HaChotzer. Right?
Okay.
So, anyways, but maybe I have an answer to that question. maybe I would answer that question. No, I don't really know if there's any difference, and I could prove to you that it's not a question. But this is an iyun answer to a good question, so you have no choice but to give an iyun answer. All the Rishonim tell us that the person who lives in the Aliyah, so he lights in his window, and they all explain it's speaking about where he doesn't have an entrance from the street level. He has to go through the landlord's house to go up his ladder into this thing. But all of them seem to say that if you would have an external exit, then he would like by the external exit by the door, not by the external exit, like by the Pesach HaChotzer. And like those people who live, I don't know if anyone's been in Borough Park in the last whatever. You have an open a door, and then after that door, there's another door. One goes upstairs, and one goes straight into the house. What's that called? The landing? That's what they call it. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways. So but it seems it was clear that they did that. It could be it doesn't make a difference whose it is. I know it's a Jew with another guy who's living here in this house, and that's good enough. But let's see.
Rav,
Yeah, I'm listening.
can I ask, is there a bit of a tension here between, or what is the shikul between maximizing the Pirasam Nisa aspect of this, which may be on your mapeset by the window, etc., or by the Pesach HaChotzer, where no one will see it?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, his question is, if I have a choice, I live on the third floor, and I have a bay window in front of my house, and the way to walk into my apartment building is a very narrow way that's recessed on a street. So if I would light on the Pesach HaChotzer, very few people would see it because it's in an alley, but I have my bay window on Broadway. So if I'm trying to get exposure, so I get much more exposure on my window than I would on the door. So is Pesach HaChotzer outweigh Presumei Nisa in that situation? Yeah, did I represent you properly?
Yes. When you get more bang for your buck.
You're right. Okay. So I'll tell you, most of the places can say that the proper place wins out. That's what most of the places can say. Once you're doing, if you have an opportunity to do it in the proper place, that's a greater factor than having exposure. Okay, that's the answer to that question. All right. I won't say, if I'm not mistaken, there is somebody who says the other way around, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the halacha. Okay. Now, I'll just say that you, parents, you probably have that exact situation.
Yes.
Right? Because you're on top from anybody driving on Ayalon, they can probably see the window, but nobody can see the knisa of your house. Right?
Exactly.
So you asked this question because you had some personal interest in mine.
That's right.
Okay, that's not so terrible. That's what halacha shir is for.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, Ner Chanukah menicha Pesach hasamuch l'shus harabim. Where? Mibachutz. I'm sorry. Taf Resh Ayin Aleph Sif Hey. We're in the shir for 40 minutes already. You know what's the rule right now? V'im ha'payis pasuch l'shus harabim meniach al pischot. V'im yesh chotzer l'fnei habayis. If there's a chotzer l'fnei habayis, menicha al Pesach ha'chotzer. In other words, we want that the menorah should abat the Rishus Harabim. V'imhayador ba'aliyah she'ein loy Pesach pasuch l'Rishus Harabim. He doesn't have a Pesach pasuch l'Rishus Harabim. Menicho b'chalon hasamuch l'Rishus Harabim. I would like to mention a issue. Tofresh Ayin Aleph. You want a Mishabura? You can go on the bottom shelf over there. There's also Gemaras on the bottom shelf and right outside the door. Okay, I'm just going to share with you the following issue that I have. The Mechaber said very clearly, if you're lighting in your Pesach HaChotzer, so where do you light it? Where's the menorah supposed to be? Mibachutz. Right? That's undisputed, seems to me. If I'm lighting in my chalon, am I also supposed to be lighting mibachutz or not? What? Why not? You know, first you answer your question and then you say I have a right for my answer. How do you know that that's true?
Why are you lighting the doors?
I'm not lighting it. One second.
Why is one lighting?
I would like to share with you a Gemara. Okay? The Gemara says a person has supposed to light a Pesach HaChotzer. If Dor Baliyah, he lights b'chaloin. And me'asakona ve'elech, you put it ala shulchan. It's clear from the Gemara, the simple reading of the Gemara, that lighting at the chalon and lighting outside are equivalent. That's the same hadaka. You're lighting for outside. Just you don't have the option, the better option of Pesach HaChotzer, so you light it b'chalon. But who are you lighting for? You're lighting for the people outside, which is actually a fascinating thing. And this has a very big nafkamina halacha l'maisa, which I don't think we're going to get there this year. Maybe, Mashiach comes, maybe we don't get rid of Hanukkah, so then we'll be able to learn this next year. But this has to do, and if somebody reminds me that I discussed it this year, so you can stop me next year. What's that? Can make a deal with you. If you remember, then you can remind me. If you don't remember, then you can't remind me. Okay. Anyway, we have to listen to it. Anyways. So, what did you ask? Oh, and the halacha is that if a person is lighting at 3 o'clock in the morning, so he's supposed to wake up the people in his house to light. So that's Pesumah. We mentioned that halacha last year. Would this apply if you're lighting outside? At 3 in the morning. Wake up my people, have them come outside. I don't think it works. I don't think it works. I'm not going to go through the iyun of the sugya, but the takana was to light a chatzi shah because that's when there's traffic. Having 3 people, there always was in the olden times also 3 people around. It doesn't make 3 people, your family doesn't make this at the traffic hour. When you're lighting inside for your then the hadlakas hadlakas pnim. So in pnim, it depends who's there in the pnim. There was never a time set for people b'pnim, and that's exactly the reason why the halacha is. The Mishnah Berurah says that you can wake the people up. So it comes out, it's even b'mei chazal. When you are lighting in your window at 3 o'clock in the morning, you could not make a bracha. And nowadays, you light in the exact same window, you wake up the people and you could make a bracha.
I don't understand what difference it makes if you're lighting for the people in your house, what side of the window you put it in, because they can see it in any case. Like, for example, if you have, say, bars on the window outside, normally you put it on the bars and they can see it perfectly clearly from within. Is it meaning that they should see it light?
No, the window is not on the next side, only on the table. Once it's on the window, it's
Can I ask you a question? I'm going to be Jewish. I hope you don't mind. But my yichus has me that way. Okay? I have a big bay window in my apartment. Can I light on my kitchen table that's 3 meters away because people could see it? Is that called lighting in the window?
Yeah, but I'm saying.
And they don't say no. Answer my question. No, I have a big bay window. People can see from the outside.
Not as many people are going to see it.
As many. That's not a question. As many. The more people on my Broadway house that are going to see when it's far away than in your thick house in the middle of Tallahassee. Don't tell me about how many people are going to see.
You could light there, but I was thinking.
Well, I could. That's called lighting on. That's called lighting on a chalon. What does that have to do with the chalon?
No, it's not on a
People from outside can see it. We're b'mei chazal. You live in an aliyah, and you have a big bay window, and they could see it, and you live on top of a mountain. People could see from miles away your beautiful chandelier. And tonight you turned off the chandelier, and all they could see is your Hanukkah candles on your table. Are you yaitza? B'mei chazal? I would think no. You have to be lighting the chaloid. It has to be lighting outside.
But I mean, if it's actually on the windowsill.
I didn't say that. I spoke specifically about a different case. The question is, your table. If you tell the table no, so how close does it have to be to the window? So it could very well be if it's within a tefach of the window, that's called it's in the window. But it's not dependent on seeing and not seeing. Yes. Said with the wrong truck.
That's very interesting.
Well,
There you go. I think
why don't we look at what the reason is why they said to put in a chalon? If the reason is for it to be seen, so why don't we just go with that?
I will introduce you to two Rishonim. One says that manichoy b'chaloin does not mean in the chaloin. It means you drop a plumb line from your window down to Rishus Harabim, and you light it downstairs, mul the chaloin. So when the person sees the menorah, you say, "What's this menorah doing up here?" And he looks up and says, "Wow, it belongs to that guy." You don't light it in the window at all. No such thing as lighting it in the window.
So what's the reason to light it there?
Because when people will see that, they'll look for the window and they'll know who lit it. So you have to
And if
assume
they
it
look-
means from it.
And if they look at the window, they'll know who did it also.
But
If
they
you light
want
it in
to
the
have-
window, they'll also know.
The halacha was to light in Rishus Harabim. This is a very wonderful shot because you're always supposed to be lighting in Rishus
Why was
Harabim.
it to light in Rishus Harabim?
So the most people could see it.
So anyway, you do it so most people can see it. It's good.
Parents, I would like you to do me a favor. I'm going to read a line of the Mechaber, and I'll please ask you to explain it.
I'm not arguing that he says it.
So that's why they were
Why is it
masakin. It was
why
the
is it
most
so
explosive.
specific? Why is it so specific if it serves the same purpose?
That I don't know. I can't answer that question. But that's one shita. The other shita in the Rishonim, I'm saying the Meiri says, "Menicho b'chaloin b'chutz." Very specific. You put it in the window outside. Why? Because it's halakas chutz. Where else should you put it? Now, Agav, I just want to tell you, I asked my Rosh Yeshiva many years ago. It's not so relevant nowadays, but I'm sure all of you have been in Yerushalayim homes of yesteryear, that the windows were, the window sill was as a shelf. So sometimes they had, usually the glass was abutting the exterior. Sometimes you had that it wasn't, there was a windowsill on the outside also, just like in America. In America, your windowsill is actually on both sides of the window. If anything, the depression is on the outside, not on the inside. Anyway, so I asked my yeshiva, I said, where is outside the window? Is outside the window or inside the window dependent on where the glass is or where the hole is? In other words, you have to light it. Outside means you have to make a shelf in front of it outside, or a tefach hasamach outside, and anything inside that window is called inside. Now, if you had a glassless window, where would outside be? Outside. If you have a glassless window, or you say the whole window's out, what does it mean? How do you decide halachically where it is? And he had a raya from a mission in Tyrus. So it was a fascinating answer that he had to this question. Anyways, Rashi says, Menichoi b'chaloin midifnim. So I just right now shared with you 3 different shitas. And I'd like to say that in my opinion, I think that it's after you know that there are different opinions, when Rashi says "b'chaloin b'fnim," he didn't mean your kitchen table. It has to be some place so we can define it that it's called in your chaloin. All right. So chaloin is a specific place. It seems to me. Let's carry on.
Does it make any difference the fact that people that do that in the salon, they're basically they're putting the candles inside a box, inside a glass box?
Fine.
Is that an additional?
I will tell you this. I have an ongoing. Every single year, I have a neighbor that we get into a fight about this. What? No. He puts his glass box in the tefach hasamuch, and the menorah is nowhere near a tefach hasamuch. So I tell him, you can't say anything. You might as well light in Middle Central Park. It's nothing to do anything. And he says, "What do you mean? Can't you see that's a Hanukkah box?" I said, "What in the world is a Hanukkah box? What's a Hanukkah box?" What? No, I'm saying, but it has no halachic value. So if the menorah has to be the tefach hasamuch, I don't see that it helps that the box is tefach hasamuch. You know what? Maybe it can. Maybe it can. Bring me a raya. What? Okay, so until then it's done.
It's terrible. It's the new. I don't have right.
Just think about it instead of having an emotional response. Think about it on an intellectual level. Okay, Yechiel, what do you have to say?
No, I just wanted to know, it wasn't Tefach HaSamuch because the box is too big or whatever, it was too.
Right. Yeah, Sheffer.
When the rabbis set up these halachas about placement, did they not think 2,000 years ahead?
I would imagine that they did.
Is it not a complicated issue that we spent a lot of time trying to find the placement of this?
I'm lost. I don't follow the question.
When it comes to Pesach, we know where to eat. When it comes to Sukkot, we know where to eat.
No. I want that in writing, because when it's going to come to Pesach and I'm going to start asking these kind of questions, you'll say Hanukkah is so easy, right? But the answer to the question is many things got lost. But when they said it was clear,
Their housing was somewhat different than the housing we have today.
that's true. That's true. But that's it. It's inside the system. It's all included. I just want to answer your question, since Hanukkah is the time for Torah. The Kabbalah in the Olam HaYeshivas is that all Sifrei Kodesh that were accepted in Klal Yisrael, that were written until the Marsha, and the Marsha included, were written with Ruach HaKodesh. Afterwards, there becomes a Machlokes Achronim as to how far it is and how far it wasn't. The mind of Kamin, if they were written with Ruach HaKodesh or not. And so I heard once from a Talmud Chacham the following explanation. This is a fascinating explanation. Let's say we have a question about genetic engineering of a tomato that they put in cells of beef, to whether it's fleishiks or Avram and Achai. Okay, let's think about the real question, which is relevant today, and there's big machlokes on this issue. And I'm willing to say that the Rishonim were not thinking about this question when they chose the words that they were using to learn. Eli, you agree or you disagree? That's the pashtus, they weren't thinking about it.
Why would they think about that? And that's probably the original beefsteak tomato.
I didn't mean to have you get off the shear just drooling over this tomato over here. Anyways, the bottom line is that being that it was written with Ruach HaKodesh, even if they didn't mean to use that exact terminology, so that you should be able to make a deal for your beefsteak tomato, invented by Eli over here, the diuk is still valid because it was written with Ruach HaKodesh. Whereas the things that were written post, if you don't have reason to assume that they meant b'dafka to include it, to exclude it, so then that diuk is invalid. Okay, so that I think that answers your question to a bit, Sheffer.
Who's the
Yeah.
author of that? Who says that statement?
I can find it for you. I don't know. This is a well-known thing. That's a big nafkamina. I'll just tell you that there's the Chavetz Chaim. He said Elu ve'elu k'divrei Elokim Chaim, even on certain things, even told modern day times, even though that's not exactly the same subject. All right. Anyways. Menicho b'chalon asol l'shasarab u'b'shas asakana she'ein rishoy l'kayim hamitzvah menicho al shulchan v'dayon. Can anybody tell me what the word v'dayon means?
He doesn't have to put any more effort in. Enough.
It's enough what?
Have to break his head over the
No, I understand. And enough means that you're yotzer mitzvah. So if we would have taken that word v'dayo out, we would have the exact same understanding. The word v'dayo give us any understanding.
What does Eino Yochel L'Kayim Mitzvah mean?
What? I didn't hear what you said.
Eino Yochel L'Kayim Mitzvah.
So his audience.
We glossed over that. So we're not really doing the mitzvah then when we're doing it inside.
So it's not goyo. It's nothing. That you're asking a very good question. You're saying so they just said cancel Hanukkah. Let's cancel Hanukkah and we'll go out with no more latkes and no more dreidels. That's it. We're out of business. I'm not arguing with you.
He's not in the best way.
Oh, okay. All right. And so what's missing? What's the factor of the mitzvah that's missing? Pesumanisa. What did we learn last week? So when it's possible to do it with Pesumanisa, you have to Pesumanisa. Well, you can't do it with Pesumanisa. Dayoi. A possible reading. I accept that reading over here of the Mechaber. All right. And you need to have another candle to be a shamish loira. Why do you need to have another candle to be a shamish loira? One more time. I didn't hear what you said. Okay. That's not what the Mishnah Berurah says. The Mishnah Berurah says a different reason, which is fascinating. Mishnah Berurah says that this is part of the Persume Nisa. Your halacha, which is not wrong, should not be here. It should be somewhere else. Over here, this is a halacha of placement of how to accomplish Persume Nisa to the best. So here it says that you have to have a shamish. Why do you have to have a shamish? Says the Mishnah Berurah, lasas hekel adover. Not because of the reason that Gil said, which is not a wrong reason, but it's wrong here. No, this doesn't flow with that which it says over here. Okay, I guess we're going to stop over here. Have a good night. Nice to see you all.